I've got it, Vince.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah, got it.
Excellent. Good. Right.
Can I just ask, are there people missing? Because I can't see Dave or...
I'm here. I am here. Can you not
Yes,
see
there
me?
are
Yeah,
people.
no, I can see Jane, but David Booth and...
No, David. Both Davids are apologies,
Oh, okay.
as is Julian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just was checking.
Okay, good.
With you.
So we better make a start. Any nominations for chairman?
Sorry, I didn't know we were doing. Oh yes, so we are. I'll nominate you.
I second that.
Are you happy to do it still, Vince?
Yes, I will.
Is there anybody else standing that we know of? Vince?
No, not that I know of.
No, you know of, and you're prepared to stand again.
Yes, yeah, I'm prepared to stand again.
That's very good of you.
So, just going to.
Has everybody agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm juggling.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and nominations for vice chairman. I think Dave currently is the vice chairman. I mean, I'm happy to nominate him again, and unless anyone else is.
Yeah, I'm happy to second that if he's happy to put his head above the parapet.
Okay.
Yeah, all good for me.
Very good. Okay. So, to receive and approve apologies, yes, as I say, both Davids are apologies today, as is Julian. To receive declarations of interest on agenda items. Anything to declare? Obviously, Tony's normal. Anything else?
Me.
That's good. We can see a microphone on you now, Mike, so hopefully we'll be okay. Good. Resolved that the minutes of the Parish Council meeting on the 29th of April are a correct record.
The only thing I was questioning is it says via YouTube. Was it via WebEx or is that the same thing?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The question is, in the title, it says minutes of the Parish Council meeting as held via YouTube.
Oh, I've got by on the latest one. I put by remote access.
Okay.
Okay.
I had something on small typo. Opening of brackets on page top line of page 2. There was no closed bracket.
Oh. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, other than that, all in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so public and press participation. This is about Mr. Shaler, and let's see if we can get Mike in here. Are you there, Mike?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, yes, I can hear you. Can everyone hear Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, so I'll just quickly introduce myself first of all. So I'm Mike Gerger, I'm resident of Watling Gun, on Old Watling Street. I've been living here for the last 13 years. The residents and I of Old Watling Street have met a number of times concerning the ongoing activity and present them all and express our concerns to the Parish Council. Suffice to say that we've got a lot of concern. There's been a lot of developments taking place on the land over the last few months. In spite of recent stop notices, formal stop notices issued by the council, the work has continued. We've been into excavation work, demolition, land clearance that's been going on every single day. since October without any respite, going on into the evening, weekends, bank holidays. So you can understand that there's a lot of kind of strong feelings on the development matters. So like, I can talk about both the applications. There's two separate applications that have been made, and obviously you're aware of both of them, but I'll talk about them separately if you don't mind. First of all, I'd like to talk about the extended entrance into Old Watling Street. The main issue is resident of Old Watling Street, having lived there for 13 years, with the size and the scale of the entrances and the location where it's placed on Old Watling Street. So the nature of the entrance and materials used, they've been chosen specifically quite clearly to dominate the area. They're completely incongruent. Size, the width, the height of the entrance is all completely obscure with the nature.
Sorry, I'm struggling to hear.
I'm struggling to hear what's going on. I can't either. I can't hear anything.
Can you hear us, Mike?
Vince, could you join the meeting like we did?
He is.
Vince,
Yeah, he is.
I thought he was on YouTube. I just wondered if he joined like we did. We might hear
He
him.
has.
He's
Carol.
joined. Yeah.
Yes, that's
We've lost his microphone again. by the look of it.
So can you guys?
Are you there, Mike?
I'm here. Can you hear me or not?
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Got you now.
Okay, so I was talking, I don't know where you lost me or what point you got to. I was talking about the entrance onto Old Watling Street.
Mhm.
The principal issue I have, I think the parish should be concerned with, is pure and simply safety. Taking up the side, the visual amenity and what has been done visually, where the entrance is located is on the national speed limit section of Old Watling Street. We have many cars travelling at and sometimes exceeding the national speed limit at this point. The entrance does not give any line of sight to the tree and other obstructions. As a result, any coming out of the back of that building, out of that exit, puts itself in danger. I'm sure the council is well aware of what kind of damage would be caused by cars colliding at national speed limits. Indeed, only half an hour ago, I had it reported to me by another resident that the occupant of the land was in a near miss coming out of the property this evening. As we've seen traffic start to rise back up again, we've seen incidents increase. It's been difficult. Anyway, it's always been a rat run, as you probably all know. So I'll quickly talk about the other application, which is the chicken coop. So there's so many reasons why this should be rejected, but the main principal ones that I'm concerned with are the building's size, the scale, and the location. This has been constructed in direct defiance of the stop notice. It's excessively large for its purpose. It's over 4 meters tall at its apex. It's positioned in a location that exacerbates its size and impact. It's located 1 meter from the boundary of my property, right on the front boundary of Old Watling Street. It's as close as it possibly could be on that land to the neighbouring properties. As a result, it's dominating the area based on its size and location. If it's intended to be a chicken coop and not everyone is perfect.
it's a dog.
Sorry, I can't find mute.
The impact of both noise and smell location. As I'm sure the council knows, that the significant parts of land to
Vince, I can't really hear this at all. There's too much interference. Is everybody, would it help if everybody muted?
I think so, Jane, yeah.
I don't think you'd be able to mute on my grid view.
If you, well, that's because you're on the Mac by some marvel, but if you're not on a Mac, you just tap the bottom and your microphone can come on.
Any better? Somebody nod if you can't speak.
Mike, I haven't been able to see you all the way through, and for most of it, I haven't been able to hear you. I think it's quite a lot similar for the rest of the councillors, I'm afraid.
I've cut the video link from my end because network bandwidth is so poor. I use WebEx all day, every day at work, and I know that I can't use video.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have struggled with the audio as well, though, just to let you know.
Okay.
Okay, I think so. With everybody muted, other than you, Mike, let's just try that again. Do you want to try and just give a go back to from the entrance?
Right. So it's got starting on the entrance. So the principal concerns I have around the entrance are to do with the location of the entrance on Old Watling Street. It is sited at a point at which the road is national speed limit. There are many cars, as any resident of this road will tell you, that travel down this road at and sometimes exceeding national speed limit. There are trees and other obstructions that would prevent somebody travelling down this road seeing any vehicle exiting from that entrance. I was led to believe this evening, indeed, the occupier, Mr. Shaler, was bringing his vehicle out of this entrance and was in a near miss. So, from a pure safety point of view, I think that entrance is poorly sited, notwithstanding all the various aspects that I tried to talk about earlier concerning the way it looks and its impact on the community visually.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
So I'd like to talk about the other application, which is for the chicken coop. So the principal concerns I have here is the size and the scale of the building. It is over 4 meters tall at its apex, which is obscenely large for a chicken coop. It's been positioned in a location that exacerbates its size and impact. It's at the highest possible point of the land. The land is being completely cleared, so it's very visible from both Old Watling Street and visible from A5. But even up in Flamstead, you can see it because of the land clearance. The building's been placed. Again, it's been built and continued to be built despite the council stop notice being in place but not enforced. It's been placed exactly 1 meter from my boundary and the nearest possible point to all the neighbouring properties. So where it's been placed it will necessarily maximise the impact of both noise and smell coming from that chicken coop. As you probably all well aware, there's a significant parcel of land there, and that building could have been placed almost anywhere else, and it would have less of an impact. It's been placed in the most impactful site, and for that reason alone, I think it needs to be rejected. Now, most importantly, I'd like to ask the parish council if they can consider asking Decorum to bring these applications in so they're assessed by committee. I'm not an expert in this, but I believe it's called calling in. We have very little belief that the case officer on his own will make the right decision, and we want proper scrutiny by committee, because the activities that are going on here on the land here will impact the whole area in the long run. We think we need proper scrutiny over these applications, because it's going to be the first of many, right? This is an ongoing process. A written application with respect has been lodged with Vince already, to which a response has not been received.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. I mean, the one thing I will say is that if the parish council does object to the applications, which I'm pretty sure is going to be the case, then the planning officer won't make a decision by themselves anyway. It will be referred to committee. So you can rest assured that that's almost certainly going to happen. And also, we have had some of our best people on it, like Jane Timmis, who's been on the case at Decorum as well. So I'm sure she'll tell us a bit about that in a minute. But thanks for your input, Mike. If you're incredibly bored, you can, of course, stick around for as long as you like to continue to watch. But other than that, we'll get on with the next phase.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. So I muted everybody, so feel free to unmute yourselves and remute yourselves if you don't have anything to say. It just keeps it a lot cleaner, I think. a lot easier to hear. Okay, so we've got planning new applications 20010094 for the widening of existing access to Old Watling Street. To
About
include...
Terry Doris.
Oh, sorry, Terry, yes, where are you?
I'm here.
They're so quietly, you see. Oh.
Did you want me to say a couple of things?
Yes.
Yeah. Locally, to report the public consultation for Chequers Hill Junction, as you know, it continues until the 22nd of May, and we'll see where that takes us. There's been not a bad response. I think when I checked this afternoon, it was about 35 responses that there'd been, but I don't know the detail of any of those at all. In terms of the Hertfordshire County Council's locality budgets, as you know, every county councillor is given £10,000 that he or she can distribute if requested, and we have, or I have actually given some money to various groups within Flamstead over the years. Given the COVID-19 situation, for 1 year only, that has been increased by a further 50%, i.e. another £390,000. On the proviso that £5,000 of the £15,000 now is allocated strictly to COVID-19 activities or activities to recognise COVID-19. And that doesn't include say a charity shop that's not got many visitors or has had to close. It's very much if somebody was creating a self-help group in a village or some such thing, or indeed excuse me, some activities that were going on to try and soften the impact of COVID-19. That's £5,000. Some of that has already been allocated, but I always every month put a note in the village news to say, do let me know if you want to make a request. And I think the only other thing to say is, and it's appropriate probably just to touch on it, although it is a national issue, that the government have indicated that if the 5 tests are met and if there is a reduction in the R number, it's the hope that they may be able to open schools to reception year 1 and year 6 children on a phased basis from the 1st of June at the earliest. I know there's been an awful lot of discussion about this in the media, and what I would say is that Hertfordshire County Council, Hertford and Hearts for Learning, who are our education colleagues, have actually done an awful lot of work and have provided information and support to head teachers so that the head teachers can plan how they're going to operate their school in the absolute understanding that they know their schools best. Because obviously there'll be some schools which have got wide corridors, there'll be some schools that have got narrow corridors, there'll be some that have got a lot of outdoor space that is good so that they can practice social distancing. And whilst I know that there have been some comments about is it too early to do this, I think the one thing that I would say is that we do have to recognise that for some children, in a whole range of different circumstances, they have actually been, shall we say, holed up for the last 8 weeks in their own house with very little opportunity to get out. And I do know, having spoken to some people today, that there are some children who are actually finding it quite difficult to actually get out and brave the outdoor world. They're frightened. And we've got to encourage them into the world of school and education. So really, that's all I have. I'm very happy to answer any questions, and then with your permission, I will sneak away to my next 2 parish council meetings.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Terry. Does anyone have any questions for Terry?
I just
Sandra.
Terry, if the money you were talking about, I mean, our main group is the Wish Tree charity, who are coordinating a lot of things, like we're all on an app, and then Alison, the kind of organiser of that, says, can somebody do this or can somebody do that? And that's how you'll kind of respond. So I just wondered whether, because that's the kind of central point that seems to work for our village, whether they could do with an injection of money, because they're the ones that are actually physically making things happen in the village on COVID.
I think my answer to that would be, and I'm picking up some of your words to try and identify the situation. And you just said they could do with an injection of money. That isn't really what it's designed for. If I have in the past, as you may or may not know, given some money to the Wish Tree charity, and if the Wish Tree charity came to me and said that I don't know, friends of the three birds, if, and I only take that as an example, are organising some sort of event for children in the village to relieve the boredom or something, or if they were to say that the over 90s in the village were actually going to do a bring and buy sale. No, that's not a good example. That they were going to go out and deliver food parcels to other people in the village who are even older than the over 90s. Then that's the sort of thing that if they needed a little bit of money to put leaflets through the door, to print some leaflets off to put them through the door, then that's something that I would be very happy to support. And because the Wish Tree charity has its own bank account, that would actually smooth it out, whereas the individual, the over 90s, may not have a charity of their own.
Yeah, I know they have just done a leaflet drop, so they have finished out a load more leaflets, which lots of people are distributing around the village. So I don't know that that kind of would come under the covering the cost of them printing the leaflets.
Depending on what the leaflet drop was for, if it was related specifically to COVID-19, I think the one thing I would say is it's incredibly frustrating when I hear of things like this, because every month I put a note in saying, if you need something, come and talk to me, and nobody ever does, which is very sad. But if they have done a leaflet drop, if it was related to COVID-19 and they want to send me an email to say it cost us £300 or whatever it may be, then I would be very happy to look at that. But it does have to be related to COVID-19 in that context.
Can you hear me? I've
Yes.
just unmuted myself. Yes, I spoke to Ali Moss the other day. I don't know if she told you, Sandra, but they did get a grant recently from Tetra Pak for about £5,000, which came sort of out of the blue. Because they were nominated by a local someone that's to do with Tetra Pak, and so I don't get the impression they're short of funds. They have. She said they've got their running costs for the whole year. They're sorted.
As a matter of interest, you may or may not know, the Rousing family who created Tetra Pak are in fact in the Sunday Times rich list. I think they hold numbers 1, 2, and 3 richest spots.
I think they have obliged to give money away. So
they may well be. They may well be. But no, in perspective, there may be another. I gave. I mean, it's not COVID-19, but I think I gave some money to the church because I'd got a little money spare, and I said I would give that. So there's always an opportunity to try and give something, and even if there isn't, if you were doing, it probably won't be for this year, but if you were to do a September party on the green or whatever to celebrate some sort of COVID thing, or even if you were just going to have a party, then talk to me and I'll see what I can do. It won't
I'll
cover
talk to you, Terry.
alcoholic beverages. It won't cover alcoholic beverages. Don't run away with that idea. I should also mention that working on the basis that if you give somebody another year, they might get it right this time. I don't know that I told you this before, but I am going to be the mayor of Dacorum for a further year.
Oh, fantastic. That's good news. Yeah.
So I will be coming to visit Flamstead
Excellent.
eventually in my finery.
Excellent. Excellent. Good to know.
All right, you may be able to open the pavilion after all then.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I did it. They said, "Is there anything that you want to do in your second year?" I said, "Yes, the Flamstead Pavilion."
You sort out the buses for Flamstead going to schools as well. The school buses.
That's something that the mayor doesn't have any locus over, and I think we've spoken about school buses and they are what they are.
I think it's quite a nice idea, though, Terry, that with the opening of the pavilion that was delayed because of COVID, it means you're going to have to pay for your own party.
Yeah, that's true enough.
Well, that's great. Anyway, thank you, Terry.
Okay, am I dismissed?
You're dismissed. Yes, you
Okay.
can go off to the lesser, well-known parishes.
The two Gadsdens now. Okay, thank you very
Good
much.
stuff. Thanks, Terry.
Bye now. You know where I am.
So stupid.
Okay. So on to planning applications. This is for the 20/01009 for the widening of existing access to Old Watling Street to include added galleons and planning plus gates. Okay, so I'm just confused here. Actually, this is separate to the Wagon and Horses, isn't it?
Exactly what we were, Mike Regius was talking about.
This is-
This is about the entrance off Watling Street into the top end of the Wagon and Horses, where he has his house to be.
This is for that one. Okay. And
Yeah.
behind the Wagon and Horses. Okay. Retrospective work. So sorry. Yes. That. Okay. Got you.
And I'd just like to add on that, because he mentioned about it being dangerous, etc., is that the highways will have to make a report on it anyway, if that's one of the things that's being brought up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I noticed that he said, or somebody said, that it was a 60-mile-an-hour limit, which I find extraordinary along that bit of road.
It is that little stretch there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would have thought that might be, at least reduced to something like 40, because it does seem extraordinary that is 60. The other point I'd like to make is that there are quite a few other properties, but including Mike's and so on, that also come out onto that road. So it may not be such a good argument to say that it's going
It's not
to be
60 all the way along. It's only 60 up until the houses, isn't it? And it goes to 30.
Well, if it's 60, even then it seems that 60 along a narrow little lane like that, which isn't very wide, seems inappropriate.
No, I agree. I agree.
And so I would have thought that might be something that will be looked at in general terms too. I mean, the highway and so on. So that there'll be more than just the fact that he's done this retrospectively. It will be an issue on highways assessing whether it's dangerous or not.
And did you manage to, or not you, but do you know if Decorum managed to actually enforce anything? Did they go there with the police?
I did send everybody, I think, an email saying that this is mainly about the chicken coop, but followed up with Olivia Staplewood, who's the enforcement officer, who went and put a stop order on the building of the chicken coop. He turned around and said that he would not stop because he had ducks and hens waiting to go in there. I noticed that there are no ducks and hens in there yet, and he had to get a planning application in by the end of April, which he did. On the application, it says he started the building on the 30th of March. I'm not sure whether that's absolutely accurate or not. Nevertheless, I think that, and I did try to speak to the planning officer today without success to find out how far they got with this and what was happening. The issue about the stop notice, I think that this will all count against him, if you like. I think also the location of the chicken coop, which couldn't be further away from his house, although it's deemed to be on the same land that his house is on. He has removed a lot of the fence hedge between his house that he's acquired, the old barbecue, possibly, and that field that he's also acquired. The other item was the two large gates onto the A5. One must ask why. You've got two huge gateways onto the A5. That originally, Decorum said that they would arrange for county to put two cement blocks in front of them so they couldn't be used. However, they decided that on balance, that if those blocks were then moved onto the A5 183, that would constitute a danger. So whilst that still hasn't come up for planning application yet, but there are no concrete blocks either.
So they didn't actually, she didn't go back down there with the police when he didn't comply, because I thought that was what she said.
She said that she went and put on a stop order on him, but he told her, to her face as it were, that he would be ignoring it because he had ducks and hens waiting to get into this hen coop. But quite frankly, I drove past there the other day to check, and there are no hens or ducks around. Okay. And I would have thought from a planning point of view that the issues are the fact that the hen coop is so close to the next property, unnecessarily so. That will constitute, if it's the chicken, I don't know what they intend to do with all the chicken detritus and muck heap, but that is pretty stinky stuff.
Yeah.
Can I ask? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask at what stage, when he says he's going to ignore all the stop notices, does it get to a criminal point where if he's ignoring all of the advice from the council, that they sort of go, well, actually, if you're going to ignore what we're saying, it doesn't then go to somebody, to an enforcement to make him stop? Because obviously the council has followed the line of asking him to stop, putting the stop notices on. But at which stage does somebody sort of go, if you're going to ignore us, we're going to make you stop? When does that happen?
I don't know at what stage, but I'm sure the reason behind a lot of this is because it can get extremely expensive. So they'll probably wait to the point where they get to the planning application and everything. At that point, they may start to take a stand against it. I think also this has been over a period that's pretty difficult for the council at the moment because of not being able to get out, get around and see, and not having their staff all in offices and so on at the same time. But I agree with you. It's just wrong that some people can just turn their thumbs up at the officers. But I think this will all count against him, and I hope that there will be some opposition, but it has to be on planning grounds as well, as not just doing what you don't want somebody to do. You have to look at it from a planning aspect, and that's the hardest thing. It can't become too personal.
I mean, my assumption is that we're all voting against this, but if nobody has anything to add, then I'll just quickly open that poll, which hopefully you can answer. Yes, Sandra?
What are we polling on?
So that planning application, just to object to that application.
Can I just say, sorry, are you going to speak, Sandra? Go ahead.
Okay. I checked, obviously, but on what planning basis are we objecting? Because there has to be a planning reason for the objection. So,
Well, I mean, I think the points that that Mike raised about the coop being right next to his house, the fact that it's 4 meters high, that it's you know, on the highest part of the ground. I mean, I don't know if there is anything that you think we should be objecting on.
Can you remember the cases on the cat hotel?
So we can't all talk at once. So you have to.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, Sandra. Sorry.
So in terms of actual planning, I'm not sure there are actual reasons for a planning refusal, because proximity to the neighbour, if it adheres to all the planning criteria for the proximity to the neighbour, then it can't necessarily be refused just because the neighbour doesn't want it in that location. So I just think we have to be quite careful on what basis we're objecting to it, because they could potentially throw out our objection because it has no planning basis.
I certainly know that noise and smell are, but you know, I don't know the intricacies of the actual.
But in terms of that, like for horses, for stables, as long as they are 5 meters from a dwelling, not the boundary, but a dwelling, they can go up. So if that.
Jane, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say that actually, you know, hen poo is very smelly, as we know, because it's a very good at fertilizer, but it actually is an incredibly bad smelling one. So I would have thought that that is a reasonable grounds to object to this coop being where it is. But I do agree with Sandra that we need to object on planning grounds, and at the moment, to my mind, one of the things is that this has all gone ahead without and in defiance of enforcement, and his gates, his entrances, his chicken coop, all those things have all been done without planning. And I think that in itself is, to my mind, a good reason for objecting to, you know, the way he's gone about it. But the actual planning of allowing, I mean, I would have thought those gates will not be allowed because they go onto the A5, 183, and that must be much more dangerous than the one at the back on Watling Street.
Yeah.
And also, the ownership of the land has not been established.
That's nothing to do with planning, unfortunately. Nothing to do with planning. So I've checked that, and the planners say that while there is nobody else claiming that land or having obvious ownership of the land, in fact, anybody can put in a planning application for something on a piece of land, even if it doesn't belong to them. So,
okay. So, Sandra, yes.
So yes, that's on the basis that it's at your risk. If you build something on someone else's land and then they say they claim it, then that's at your cost. So that's why the planners don't have any jurisdiction over that. They're just looking at the planning terms. But I just think we need to look at smell isn't necessarily a planning consideration.
It is actually, Sandra, it's listed in the planning reasons for why they can be turned down. Smells is one of them, as is noise and disturbance from resulting use. They're ones that I've actually looked up and found on planning portals.
Is that
sorry, can I just, I can't see my picture, so I can't wave, but there was a case, I don't know if any of you remember it, in Singlets Lane about the cat hotel that somebody wanted to open up, and they were building exactly the same sort of thing right at the back of the garden, and that was refused. And one of the we emphasised very strongly the potential interference in vermin and the smell and what they're going to do with all the cat poo and all the litter trays, and lighting as well. If there were to be anybody feeding the creatures, later in the evening, certainly in the winter, there might be a lot of light pollution as well.
Yeah.
I hope it's used.
Okay. So, I mean, unless anybody has any other material reasons for objecting, then my suggestion is that we object on the grounds of the smell, the noise, the proximity of a 4-metre structure to the boundary of a neighbouring property. And Sandra, anything else?
Vince, I'm trying to object, but mine timed out before I'd submitted it.
Okay, no problem.
Can you do it again?
You are allowed a 4-metre structure as part of permitted development, 4-metre high structure. That's the limit that you can reach to. So that isn't
What
necessary.
about light? Is it going to affect the light?
Well, that's got to do with its proximity to other buildings. So it's a 45-degree angle. So if usually why it is at 4 metres is that that's deemed to be ground floor level, and right to light is more first floor level, but also going in. But right to light is into the building, not the garden. They can obscure your light into the garden, but not a building.
I've not actually been up there to see it, so I'm
No, so I just think we need to be really careful about how we object. We don't want it thrown out. I'm not saying,
No.
I mean, I'm saying we should object. I just think we need to be quite careful about the reasons for the objection so that they hold tight and can't be dismissed because they're not real planning objections.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, do we have anything else?
Well, just when you look on the plan that was submitted with that, I think that the drawing of where the hen coop is going is not properly represented, because it is right into the corner there, the building that's been built, and but on the plan it shows it, being a little bit more distance. I don't know how relevant that is when it comes to the actual planning application, but it is very close to the next door neighbour, and one would say, why? When it could be, if it's on his land, it could be much closer to his home.
Okay, well, in the absence of any
That's not
ideas, although we could always share if we can come up with any other better material reasons before Caroline submits our response, then all well and good. I think, Sandra.
Well, I did try to speak to the planning officer today, and so hopefully I left messages and things. I'll be able to speak to him the next day or so, and I'll share with you what he says.
Yes, please. Yeah. Sorry, Sandra, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just have another look at it to see, and I'll try and print off a scale drawing so I can dimension it on the boundaries and things like that. It might be on the boundary. Looks like it's okay, but in terms of planning, but so we might just be left with the smell and the pleasant nature of it. But.
Could I ask who's been up there to look at it? Vince?
Yes, so we've got Sandra, Tim.
Who's been up there
Tony.
to look at it?
Sandra, Tim, Tony, and Caroline. I've been up there to look at it, but not since the coop went up.
I thought the plans I thought that it was going to be much nearer the gates, and I didn't realise it was going to be quite so far tucked up in the corner. I was horrified. And Sandra, the 4 metres is at the highest point, but it's the highest point of the elevation of the land as well, which exacerbates it. So, the 4 metre height, is there any leeway they give? Because you could have 4 metres at the lowest point.
It's not to do with ground level, it's to do with the height of the ridge on the ground it's sitting on.
Okay.
Okay. So that was the two applications. The widening of the existing access. Sorry, so we didn't address that actually. The reasons for objection to the widening of the existing access onto Old Watling Street. I was saying that it's just dangerous egress. But actually, you know what? I think the gates there, they can use it, whatever, can't they? Surely widening it can only make it safer, can't it? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I think it's quite hard to object to that. I
Yeah,
think it'd be
I do.
better to object to the speed along the road there, but apart from that, I think it's
Yeah.
harder to object to that.
Okay. Sandra, yeah?
Yeah, just from our experience of the 12 Trowley Hill Road and the whole egress onto the road there, where they were actually lying about all the dimensions and all the rest of it, but let it through anyway. But my research into all of that, I don't think it necessarily helps that it's a 60-mile-an-hour limit. That it kind of almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only thing we can go on, really. But it's already there, isn't it? There's an existing entrance. He hasn't made a new entrance. The new entrance is the one to the A5.
Yeah.
So has he got an application in for those, or is it just the Watling?
Just for the Old Watling Street ones.
Not yet,
Right.
apparently. That's coming later.
Yeah. So just, we just have to go with the speed of, and also it's like the width and the width of the road. But once you start objecting to all of that, like you said, everyone else has then potentially got a problem, although it already exists. So it is quite a tricky one. But I guess that's all we can really say. It's
Yeah. Okay.
so driveway would be dangerous along there.
They should have another one there for the second application.
What about the gabions? Is that the brick arrangements he's got there? I don't know what a gabion is actually. Because before it was quite a simple gate that no one noticed, and now it's something quite ostentatious. So, and it's such a change.
I don't think there's necessarily anything. It's a planning issue as to whether you put pillars up or not. It's just whether you widen the access onto the road.
Okay.
Baskets, pre-made baskets. Baskets. Okay.
Oh, you know what that is? That's the mesh that he's got.
Yeah.
There's a mesh with bricks in. So
Yeah.
that must be gabion.
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on. So
we just to be clear for the comments on the portal, we're just objecting because of the danger, because of the speed limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's already an entrance there, and he's actually making it safer. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Entrance that was there before was a foot entrance. It was a pedestrian small gate. It wasn't a big vehicle entrance. So I think that's the difference. But I personally think that's harder to object to, really, because as somebody said, it makes it safer if you're driving out from there. And I think the only objection is to perhaps for the parish council to say they hope the highways will be looking at the issue about how safe that road is at that speed.
Absolutely, yeah. Good. Okay. 01044 LDE for continued existing use in breach of an agricultural occupancy condition. Anyone have anything to say on this?
Sorry, I got a bit confused because it's all kind of all grouped together as
Trowley Hill Road. That's the Trowley Hill Road one at the back, isn't it? That one.
The breach of agricultural occupancy.
Yeah.
Or are we on Charlie Hill Road now?
This is
I'm a bit confused as you've got Charlie Hill Road and then.
Sorry, I can see what I haven't done. It's actually Holtsmere End.
oh, Holtsmere
Yeah,
End, that's
Holtsmere End,
right. Yes,
Lane
that's
Road.
the breach.
Yeah.
Is the breach, yeah.
Breach of that. Oh, is this the? No. Do we? Do we have to do anything with this?
I didn't think we did because it was already being dealt with as a breach. It was just a notification, Vince.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Does that look right to you, Caroline?
Can you hear me? I can't.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know if this one, because some of them we get notifications, and this one I felt because it's obviously something that they've obviously been caught out. They're carrying on doing something to the property, and they shouldn't. So I'm just having a quick look at it again. I can't remember what it was.
This isn't the one for the outside thing, is it?
Not the piggery. They've had several there. LTE.
Existing use.
I think this is a garden room that they've built on the back of the house. I think
Right.
you can see it as you walk down the road.
Yeah. Continued occupation in excess of 10 years in breach of agricultural occupancy condition. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't look to me like we need to do anything with this. So, which is the next one? This 201022 for the construction of a detached rear building, 131 Charlie Hill Road.
So that's where previously there was an application for 2 semi-detached houses. It's opposite the Rose and Crown along a bit. And now he's put an application in for supposedly under permitted development for this outbuilding of a garage and gym and things
Didn't we
like that.
talk about this before, Caroline?
No, he was. No, we haven't. He previously it was 2 semi-detached houses, and that was refused due to the it was disturbing the openness of the green belt, and so he's obviously put in something lower. And I did speak to the planning officer, because I said, this does rather look like a house, and why does an outbuilding require its own entrance? Because that seemed unusual to me. And he said they were going to look at it very carefully, because there was a precedent set in London, I think somewhere, of a big property that was wanted to be built in someone's garden, and it was refused because they called it an outbuilding, but actually the footprint was bigger than the house itself. So they've got legal precedents to look at on this one. I think it's quite complicated. I think it's because he probably wants to build something because the previous application was refused. But it's unusual, I would have thought, for an outbuilding to have its own entrance. And it does, and there's a toilet and water put in there. So it's obviously, possibly, I don't know what he's going to use it for in the future.
Have I vanished?
No, you're still there. You there? You there, Tim? Ah, there you are. Can you hear Tim? Yeah, I think you're kind of fading away, Tim. I don't know if it's you or your connection. It's just occurred to me that I do.
Yeah,
some
my
Sorry, Tim. Yeah.
my connection just faded out. Then it's back now.
Okay. Would you do me a favour? Because I've just realised that this applicant is actually somebody that I do some work for indirectly, so I should have registered an interest for this one, and I don't really want to get involved. Would you mind just sort of going through it for us?
We're talking about the one opposite the Rose and Crown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the resubmitted plans look like a very large bungalow with floor to ceiling windows all the way around the edge. And just a scaled, well, it's a scaled down house. And I don't, you know, as far as I can see, there's nothing changed really, other than it's to me, it just looks like it's a house. On the other hand, it is infill, and we are under pressure to provide infill. So I'm not sure whether I would object to it. You know, it's clearly going to be a house. Well, you can't say that, but it looks suspiciously as if it is going to be a house.
But you can't treat it.
You can't. I know.
It's not infill because it's
Sorry, Caroline. What was that?
because it's class as an outbuilding. It wouldn't be. You can't say it won't be infill because he'll then turn it into a house at a later stage, and we probably wouldn't even get still money for it because it's already there. I think it's a house by the back door.
Well, it is.
Yeah. But then
It is. I mean, it's very similar to the original one. Looking at the plans, and as I said, you know, it's a very luxurious outbuilding. There are patio doors and full-length windows, and what looks like a car parking space in the front of it. Can't work out what that is. It looks like a garage. Yeah.
Double garage.
Double garage doors as well as patio doors.
Could I just say, if we want to object, it would have to be on the side basis of scale, I think, for an outbuilding, because it's you know, the scale of the building is too large in respect to the existing house.
It looks like, if you look at that scale then, Sandra, it looks like they've got a double garage and space for 2 more double garage doors either side of that double garage. So it's like a 6-car garage. Plus
I think our objection would have to be, if we want to object, it would have to be on the basis that it is overbearing on the existing dwelling and disproportionate size to the existing dwelling and plot.
Yeah, I think that's sensible, and that's what it now looks like as an outbuilding. It is enormous and overbearing in relation to the other buildings around it.
Could also object to the fact that there would be another vehicular access onto what is a very narrow and narrow country lane. And is that relevant to have another vehicular access onto that lane in potential dangerous position?
Because I think that's what we objected to originally, wasn't it? On the original one, we said about vehicular access. But the resubmitted plans look so similar to the original version. They've just look. It looks like they've blacked out one set of patio doors and put a garage door there instead. That's what this looks like.
It's probably, and it's lower, I think, because it was would have been on 2 floors before. So because one of their objections when it went to appeal, well, not appeal, but when it was refused, was that it affected the openness of the green belt. So obviously, by having a lower property, he felt it. Presumably, that's why he's addressing that.
Not much lower though.
No, I mean that.
So the original was 4 meters high, and this one is, unless there's any scale on this. I can't see the scale on the resubmitted ones. It still looks big though. Yeah, out of proportion, as you say. Yeah, it's still 4 meters high. The proposed outbuilding is 4 meters high, so it's the same.
Wasn't the original application must have been higher than that because it was too.
Oh no, sorry, I've got it mixed up. I'm looking at the original application. The new application, I can't see any scale on the height of the outbuilding.
It is 4 meters high. which is you are allowed to go 4 metres high.
Well, that's why they've done it then. So that's the same as the original. The original was 4 metres then.
I don't see how it could have been 4 metres because it was 2-storey. You can't get 2 stories in 4 metres. I haven't got it up here, but
Oh, hang on a minute. No, you're right. I'm sorry. No, you're right. No, it was 2 stories. Anyway, so in terms of this and stepping in on Vince's toes, do we have a vote to object, or can you put the screen up there, Vince? This is whether we that's it. So can we vote then?
It's
I'll just say for the record that actually I'm happy not to object. I'm happy with it as a development. I don't think it's particularly, whilst it's a large building, I think it's in a fairly isolated place. It's going out onto a road, which I think will go perfectly well with where it is. And if it gets turned into a dwelling at a later point, then so be it. I don't think doing any great harm, in all honesty. So no objections from me.
Okay. Thanks, Tony. So do you see the results of the vote, Vince?
I have 4 objections, 1 no objection.
I haven't
Sure.
voted.
I was going to say, I'll show there's no answer yet.
I haven't voted. I pressed the wrong thing. So could you send it again, please?
I can't send it, but if you just tell us.
Well, I don't think I can object to this. Really, I feel it's bigger than an outbuilding. I mean, you know, it obviously is a way. It's like exploitation of something, but so many loopholes in planning, and that's what it is. Really, they're just exploiting it. But okay. I agree with Tony. It's you know, there's the space there, obviously.
Right.
So yeah. Overall, it's object.
Overall object. Okay. So Caroline,
I'm not objecting.
Caroline's not.
But overall objection, though.
Yes.
So I think it's not a strong objection, is it, Caroline?
Well, there's four of you objected.
Yeah. So
okay.
On what? Sorry, just in terms of the response to the quorum, what do we agree that Caroline now submits? Object because it's
my objection is I don't think it is an outbuilding. It looks more like a property, and it's being disguised as an outbuilding.
Yeah, but we've got to be, as Sandra said, we've got to be quite careful how that's worded. So it doesn't look like we're objecting because he's being a sneaky sod. We're objecting because it's too large for an outbuilding in that context or in that setting. It's overbearing in that setting.
As an outbuilding, yes.
Yeah, I think that. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I think the objection is that it is disproportionately sized to the size of the existing dwelling.
Yeah. That's it. I think that's it, Vince.
Right, fantastic. Thanks, Tim. Okay, so on to the next one, 00646. This is 20-acre cottage, I think. Yeah, 20 acres cottage, London Road. Any thoughts on this?
Didn't we have to go on this by email earlier on?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I said on my email I thought that was overdevelopment. If you drive past there, the bakery, whatever the building is behind, is very close to the building. And I think to divide that small cottage, as it were, with a little bit of extension at the back into 3, and expect cars and everything to be able to park and access mostly from the back, I don't think that's really possible. At least I think that's overdevelopment in my view. I think 2 would have been okay, but 3 is too much.
Okay. Any other thoughts? You're on mute, Caroline.
Okay, it says it's mute. Okay, so I spoke to the planning officer about this while we had an email exchange, and I can't remember if she or he said that the owner, who owns the bakery as well, said he's dividing it into 3 for his 3 children because they work in London and it's too expensive for them to buy there. And so, and his 2 children, he's moving into the one on the right, and I think they're having the other 2 units. So I got the impression that they were happy, that they were content with that. I might be wrong, but that was the reason behind it.
I think Sandra.
Yeah, it doesn't look to me like they're extending it a huge amount. And in terms of the dwelling, the living space, it doesn't seem sort of disproportionate. You know, it seems a decent space for a 1-bed properties. To be honest, I don't think I would have any substantial objections to it.
Any thoughts, Tony?
Sorry.
I don't object to it. I think, whilst I wouldn't want to live there, particularly 1-bedroom flat, I think it's rather small personally. I think it's a reasonable division of the property. I don't think it's a substantial development. And ultimately, it's providing an extra house for somebody to live in within our area. So I'm for it.
Okay.
What happens, sorry for my ignorance, what happens in terms of deeds, etc.? Is it still one property or does it end up being 3 individual properties?
Sandra might be able to answer that.
Yeah, it would be up to the freeholder. That's not really a planning issue as such. But if they are asking for 3 separate dwellings, then there would be 3 separate title deeds because they're individual units.
I imagine it would be 3 separate developments simply for council tax.
Not simply for that.
Yeah.
Shall we vote?
Yep.
So yeah, no objections for this. Okay. Final one, the 01411 for land adjacent to Delaware. This is variation of condition 9, approved plans. And what was condition 9?
This one has a complicated background. That the parish council was in agreement to object, and then he put in another application which widened it and made the side very high, overlooking the next door neighbour. And there was a question already on the amenity space in the back, which obviously, if the footprint's bigger, the amenity space even less. So then we objected, and apparently the first application shouldn't have been submitted. It was it fell through a few of the cracks because there were so many different planning officers at that time. So the one that we objected to, the slightly bigger one, was the one that should have been seen first. But I have told the planning officer that our comments would have been the same. We just objected to it because it was so large. And now they've changed the gable end to a hip end facing the neighbour who sold him the land. But the height is still higher than the buildings either side.
And this was the chap who'd invited people to go and have a look at the actual ground because he said it, perhaps if you saw it, you would understand that it's not perhaps as overbearing as you might think. I don't know if anybody actually went up to have a look at it. But, Sandra, yeah.
I didn't go with him to have a look, but I have driven through there, and I understand the context in which he says that. My objection is that on the east proposed side elevation is that there's a dormer there, and it's got windows in that will look directly over the neighbouring garden. And whether the neighbour who, so if that's the neighbour that sold them the land, it's sort of irrelevant because they may not be there forever. So if that person moved, then you've still got the overlooking issue. So I think that, and also the actual amenity space and the proximity. I just think that dormer is will be very intrusive, and there is huge overlooking issues into the neighbouring land. I mean, you're meant to have there's quite stringent distancing, and my understanding of the quorum planning is that there should be 11 metres at first floor, or first floor windows overlooking another a neighbour's.
Ken, do you have any thoughts?
Was that me, Vince?
Yeah, so yeah, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yes, I've said previously on this. I think that change to the gable end that they've made is almost irrelevant because the height of the building hasn't changed at all. They've cut down the very pinnacle of that gable, but I don't think they've made any difference at all. And it's still very close to, and it's squeezing in that site, isn't it? You know, there's hardly any room either side. So I think it is too big in the context of where it's being built. So I'd object to it.
Okay. So does anyone else have anything? Nancy, sorry, I oh yeah, Nancy. Oh no, you're still muted.
Am I right now? No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
What I need to say.
Did you have any comments on this one?
No.
Just from myself, Vince, again, I'm not objecting to this. I obviously just round the corner from me, familiar with the plot. I'm not personally over concerned with the angle at which it's looking out towards the neighbour's house. I think that's more of a planning speciality rather than me to put a local objection on. I'm not familiar with that, and so can't comment. I think it's a reasonable sized building for the plot personally. I'm happy with it.
Okay. So we go for a vote?
Yep.
Okay, so we have an abstention, 3 no objections, and 2 objections. So it's no objection. Okay. Good.
No objection. Did you say?
Yes, no objection, yeah. Okay, planning decisions taken by DBC. What have you got for us, Caroline? Anything?
No, I haven't got anything. No.
Okay.
I haven't had any more. No.
Okay, good. So working group reports, pavilion development. Sandra? Oh, can't hear you. Yeah, I think yeah.
Where do we start? I don't know. I think everyone has been party to various emails and things and letters that have been going backwards and forwards. My personal opinion in terms of that side of it is that we're paying Graham Gamble, who is a qualified architect and contracts administrator, to administer the contract and evaluations as to the work and whether it's the right value or not that we're paying. You know, it's public money, and it's the right value or not that we're paying John for the work. And it should be for Graham to decide what that right value is, because he's the professional and he's the one we're paying to do that job. In terms of where we are with the building, we're almost there. The flooring's been done. I would just say on a personal note that the pile of rubbish that's been left in there is not the case. It's all neatly packed, stacked up, and part of it is an excess of flooring that I ordered, which I have to sort of have to send back, which I haven't done because I've been very busy. So it's not a mess that he's making out. I have taken some photos of these, and I don't know if everyone's read all the correspondence, but the drainage pipes we're talking about at the back of the building. I did actually take a photo of it today, and it's not the drawing is why it has been raised. But that is the picture of the pipes. So they're external now, and the whole point of putting the drainage and all the water at the back of the building was to keep it protected, so there was no risk of any freezing again. And because John has now punched a hole in the wall to put that drainage in, it is potentially going to cause a problem in terms of if there's water stuck in there or whatever, it could freeze. And it's now exposed to the elements, and he looks quite ugly. He's looking at from a distance. That should just be a clean wall through the back there. So, and this was raised with John at the time, and he was asked not to do that, in fact, but he went and did it anyway. So that's why there's a bit of an issue there. The other items have all been detailed by Graham. And I think the rest of it is really down to the pavilion committee. We were put in place to sort of make the decisions and then report to the PC. So it's all got a bit messy, which is unfortunate, I would say.
I'd say, I think, certainly in my experience, John has always been very helpful, honest, and diligent, and he's done plenty of good work for the parish council before, and some of it without charge. And I think it would be a great shame, if we alienated someone who's always been very supportive of the council. And while I don't believe that we should be paying for anything that hasn't been done or anything like that, I also have a bit of a problem with holding money for work that has been completed. And I think we should be questioning what is reasonable. I certainly think, obviously, it's public money, but I think if we've agreed and asked John to do something without first agreeing a price, then I see that as our problem more than his. And the thing is with John, because I personally trust him, I have no reason to disbelieve that what he says isn't reasonable. So I was thinking also about this thing about asking him for his costs, and I think really there's no other business in the world you would do that. You wouldn't go to Curry's and say,
I'm sorry,
tell me
Vince.
how much.
I can't across you there, Vince. There is every right in building that you ask people to justify their costs. You can't just say, oh, okay, that if that's what you think it is. I mean, this is public money, and it's a contractual situation. And you don't just say, oh, okay, if that's what it is. If something is not right, you can't just say, oh, you're a nice guy, so we should pay it anyway.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But no, I'm talking about the costs that we've asked him for costs of his materials and things, and I don't agree with that. I think if we've asked somebody to do a job, and they've done the job, we can't then say, right, now can you tell us your costs?
We have always asked him from day one to verify the costs. He then should have said, I'm not doing it then until you told me to do it. So we keep asking him to verify the costs. So
the onus, if we've asked them to do something, the onus is on us to make sure that we agree with the cost. We've approached him and asked him to do something. End of.
This is why there shouldn't be discussed in this forum, because you're looking at things slightly out of context, and how the whole journey through, which is why it should be agreed by the Pavilion Committee who've
Well, I think there's a problem with that at the moment, which is why I think we should discuss it here. There's clearly is a problem. I mean, you've seen the emails that have gone about. You know, that's not the
So,
kind of.
Are you saying then, Vince, that you don't want to take the advice of the professional architect who was employed to administer the contract, and you just want to pay John? Because if that I'm not agreeing to that, because this is public money, it's not your money, and just pay John. You know,
I'm saying that's my personal
point. The point is that we've employed somebody, and his advice is that some of this is incorrect, and it's things that we have queried with him from day one. It's not something we've just decided is wrong.
Can I just say? So I'm not disagreeing with those things. What I'm saying is the things that where we've asked John to do a job and he's done it, and then afterwards we've gone to question the cost of it.
That's not correct. That's not correct, Vince. We have questioned it from day one. That is not correct.
I don't know what you mean we've questioned it. I don't know. Tony, have you got any answers?
Prices from day one, and we've asked him to verify the costs on things when he first put the costs in. We've always asked him to verify it. And
but we've also told him to do the work.
Well, we asked him to do the work on the basis that he needed to verify his costs. If he chose to carry on doing it, then that's at his.
If you carried on allowing him to do it, then it's the onus is on us.
And this is normal build contracts, JCT contract issues, and this is how it's always run, which is why Graham, our head of valuation, or the contract administrator, has a valuation and he values the goods, and then the builder has to justify any additional costs, and that's what we've continually asked him to do.
You asked my opinion, Vince, and I'm actually in agreement with Sandra. I think we've employed a professional. I think there are discrepancies that need to be resolved. The issues over the plumbing and that side of things, internal and external, I couldn't understand why he did that. I've got internal plumbing for my kitchen when we had units and stuff fitted. I don't understand his rationale for doing so. There's a number of other issues, I think, which remain unresolved that I personally am unhappy with, i.e. the road planings, the finish of that and what we were told we would be given as to what we've actually received. We were advised it would be similar in flooring to the pathways through the church, but it's nothing like that at all. The substantial saving on what it should have been, I think, was minimal compared to the overall cost that we were outlaying there. I'm not happy with it. I would much rather leave it to professionals.
Okay. Samantha, do you have any thoughts?
I've not been as closely involved in this as Sandra and Tony have, but I know when I was involved at the beginning, there were lots of questions we were asking on costs and we weren't getting answers. So I believe we should leave it in the hands of the professional that we onboarded with this project. And as Sandra states, it's not our money, it is public money. And I think it takes away sort of any personal issues if we do leave this to Graham to resolve.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tim, any thoughts?
Well, like Samantha, I haven't been close to it, Vince. I do tend to agree with that view that for professionals to manage it, then we need to leave it to the professionals, and that does distance personal relationships. So I vote that we need to let it run its course with the professionals.
Okay, that's fine. So that's what we'll do. We'll leave it as so. There's nothing we need to do or decide right now, is there? Okay.
There is a payment certificate out for John, and Graham has been quite clear. Just you need to detail the costs, and there are some issues like the plumbing, etc. But it's not, there are things on there that Graham has identified that needs to have justifications to, which John is not doing. So yeah, I think we need to resolve that.
Okay. But other than that, I mean, aside from that side of things, we're pretty much done, aren't we? I mean, what we
Yeah.
raised just.
So once I've managed to get the flooring back to the flooring supplier, yeah, we're pretty much there. Yeah, the skirting's going up. I think it's on now. The footwells the mats need to go in the footwells. That's it. I think we're done then. Yeah. So yeah. I think this is really sad. You know, that it's spiraled like this. I don't really understand why. But John seems to have. I don't know. I don't understand why it's spiraled like this. I find it really sad because I personally, well, lots of people have worked very hard on this, and I find it really upsetting and sad that it's come to this. But there we are. That's life, isn't it? But we're nearly there, which is good.
We're nearly there. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Very soon, we hope.
Yeah.
Okay, Jane. Airport. Anything on the airport?
Well, as you know, there's not a lot on in the airport, luckily.
No, I thought you'd just done a really good job.
Fortunately, yes, I've achieved something that, or at least the virus has, that no other person has been able to. The thing I have written to Mike Penning, the MP, because I was fairly horrified to hear that Wizz Air were being permitted to fly, despite the fact that it was locked down for everybody else. Wizz Air which is a Hungarian airline, was being permitted to fly in and out of Luton. And on top of that, so I was told, and I believe from a reliable source, that the government, our government, had given Wizz Air 300 million or something to keep them going, although they are a viable airline. So I just think at the time that the ability to fly people in on what apparently were crowded aircrafts as usual, and there was no at Luton itself. There was nothing. There was no checking of temperatures or anything like that. So I thought that was really pretty poor when everybody else on the ground was self-distancing and everything else. But on the whole, I think what this is all going to mean is this hopefully an end to their intentions of double expansion. At least it will be putting them back, if not on on hold for a time. Because I don't think I know that Luton Borough Council had put in for some huge sum from the government to support them. And I think one of the reasons is they've spent so much money on the expansion plan, the DCO thing, that actually they apparently spent 40 million on that. And they're asking the government now for 50 million to keep them going for running all their normal services. But,
Did Tony do something with the air quality?
Tony, did you? Tony, I was going. I know as you're speaking to Andrew, Tony will probably tell you what happened. I did try to get the Cornwall Borough Council to put in something, and of course they said they couldn't in the time. They didn't have people going out and one thing and another. So I don't know whether Tony's achieved anything at the airport itself, because there are monitors there and there is data. But Tony hopefully will tell us.
Yeah, in relation to that, I mean, I have had a look. Obviously, the issue with the data itself is that the entire country has been on lockdown and there's been zero traffic. So how do we judge the impact of one against the other? Because obviously with nobody using the airport, there's no cars going to it, there's knock-on effects around that. And so it's a question of how we then draw those comparisons that I'm struggling with. But yes, we've certainly got data to measure and those comparisons can be drawn.
The point of it was really to have a baseline of what it's like without, and then so that we could say how much more pollution there is when the airport is back to its normal running. So it's really to establish some sort of baseline while there was no
Yeah, Jane, I understand that, but obviously the M1 hasn't had 1/100th of the traffic that it would normally have. So it's difficult to draw that comparison without all the rest of the knock-ons there. That's what I'm saying.
No, I understand that, but on the other hand, you know, a lot of the M1 traffic will also be to the airport. So I agree with you. It's not an exact science by any means, but it does give us some idea. I mean, I know that in China, I know this is not exactly the comparison, but nonetheless, over the virus lockdown there, their air quality pollution just went away. It was completely different. They have smogs and I don't know what, and it's all back again now because all of it's all started up again, all their industry. So I think it does make a difference when you've got aircraft, cars, whatever it is, all that makes a lot of difference.
Tony, could you do the benchmark as of, say, Monday this last week or Wednesday, whenever it was everyone went back to work in their cars? Because
yeah, we can certainly extrapolate the data. It's just a question of finding the data points that we want to measure. I mean, doing that is not a problem. I mean, it does all bells and whistles. You can do that really simply. And all
all I was going to say was that the motor traffic is a lot higher, but we still haven't got the plane traffic. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that sort of like we needed to get that result first of all. So, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. It's just trying to identify those key points that we actually want to look at.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Jane, sorry, I don't know if you were saying something, but I think you muted yourself.
I just want to say thank you to Tony. That's all.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. Warden, so reseeding the wreck. I see you've got here, Caroline. Also, I noticed there's a notice board at Vicarage Gardens, which is in tatters, really. The door's fallen off and it's pretty ugly. And I think we either need to replace it if it's being used or remove it if it's not. And there is also somebody's chucked an old TV there, in there for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I don't know if we could get the warden to do something with any of those. Is that notice board? I mean, I use that notice board sometimes, but is it used generally? You're muted, Caroline.
Yeah. You get the odd notice in it. It's not used a huge amount. Maybe, I mean, bearing in mind.
You've muted yourself again.
So new notice boards cost about £1,000. It's a massive expense if we were to go down the road, and one has to query: do we need so many notice boards now that so much information goes online? And we've got the main one up outside the 3 Blackbirds anyway, so it could just be removed and then.
I mean, that's what I would suggest, that we just get rid of it. I don't know how others think about that. Sandra?
We could make it a COVID board and get some money off Terry.
Vince, are you talking about the one that's immediately opposite the school?
It's just next to Vicarage Gardens, out of College Close, and as you turn left on Vicarage Gardens on the right, it's Parsons Close, isn't it? Is it Parsons or Vicarage? Parsons.
It's Parsons Close, by the school.
Yes.
At the school.
Yeah, the one by the school. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually know that there's quite a few people that do, from the school perspective, pay attention to that one more than they would perhaps up by the 3 Blackbirds on the other side of the road. So I'd be in favour of actually trying to maintain it or keep it. I'm just wondering whether that would fall under infrastructure for some of the SIL money that we need to use.
I wouldn't say it was infrastructure, no. No, I wonder if it's a question of the school people, could we have information put on the school notice board that's relevant? Because they must have a notice board. Just to get that issue.
I just think that sometimes people think that everything happens at the top of the village and that the lower down the village, sometimes it's ignored, and I just think it's actually quite important. I've seen people looking at it and things. I think actually it's quite important to keep one there.
Well, I think if
Charlie Potter. And also,
keep it, then it's a case of replacing it because it's in tatters. The door's fallen off. You could kind of repair it, but not really. It's either, I think, spend £1,000 on a new one or just get rid of it. I mean, I think in some ways it is quite nice to kind of have somewhere else to.
Surely it can't cost £1,000 to repair the door, to employ a carpenter to sort it out.
No, I don't think it's worth doing that. Is what I'm saying. I think either it would be better. I think either to put a new notice board there, but that must be the oldest one. I think, isn't it? The others have all been replaced. So I think really it's a case of either put a new notice board there or just get rid of it. Like I say, you could repair it, but it's in tatters. I mean, it's not very nice.
It's probably the same age as the one in Trowley Bottom and the one by Friendless Lane. There's another one there as well, which is a bit, it's not in pristine condition.
Mm.
And also the problem is the one at Parsons Close. It's quite an exposed position, so it tends to, gets the weather there, and the wind. And the sun beams down on it. It's so everything fades. So it's not a brilliant location. Maybe if we could put it against, I don't know if it'd work, to the right, against with the back to the fence of the house that goes down the side of Parsons Close, maybe.
Well, I think if people in general think that we should keep it, then I think we should agenda it for next meeting for the cost of a replacement.
Yeah.
At the moment, the door is on the ground next to it, and there's glass in it. So
Oh.
Well, I don't know.
Shall I ask the warden to take it away?
Sorry, say again. Yeah, yes, that's what I was going to suggest. Yeah.
To remove the door.
Yeah. And as I say, there's a TV. Somebody's thrown an old TV next to it as well. Which, I mean, in a way, it would be nice to publicise that picture of that TV and see if anybody recognises it. But so does everybody agree with that? We'll put it on the agenda for next month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Annual audit timetable, annual governance statement.
Oh yeah, this is just.
It's for the 15th of June.
Flag it up, yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't quite know what's happening about the internal audit yet because I haven't heard back from the auditor whether he'll do it all remotely or he'll be incarcerated in my dining room, which is what he normally does.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he comes to the house. So I just have to, brush the light on the.
Okay. Good.
There's a bit of I think they're increasing the deadline to the end of July.
Okay.
Yeah, for the external audit because it all feeds into that.
Okay. To consider receipts and payments from the 28th of April to the 18th of May.
So these have all been circulated to everybody. So I don't know if you want to read out the payments as in normal or take it.
Has everybody managed to look at it? Yeah, and so for some reason I don't have. So yeah, everybody's happy with the receipts and payments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So I just need a proposer and a seconder on those.
Yeah. Tony's going to propose. Tim will second.
Sorry, who will propose?
Tony's proposing.
Oh, thank you.
Tim second.
I'll second.
And everyone in agreement.
Okay, thank you. And then there was another thing that I think I must have sent an email to all of you. It's just to do with this pesky bank mandate, which there has to be a minuted resolution, as I've explained, to pass a resolution that the bank account held with PC be continued, and that the bank is authorised to act on any instruction provided that they have been given by the persons named in the specimen signature section, and that the requirements set out by the PC are to have 3 signatures, one of which is to include the clerk's signature. So I just need that in the minutes. So in case they look on our website just to check.
Yeah.
So I need to, if you're all happy with that.
So, yes, yeah.
Basically, it's a continuation before, as what we've had already. So I just need to propose it and a seconder.
Jane's proposing and Tony's seconding, and I assume everybody's in agreement. Yeah.
Everyone all right with that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Caroline, I just wondered, is it possible that we could get one or two, at least one more person as a signatory?
Yeah, well, this is what this is for.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah,
good.
it's a long drawn out, trying to lure you all to sign your signatures. It's been a long drawn out process. So yeah, and look, now the banks aren't always open, so I'll have to go after that. I can't do it online. It doesn't allow me to, unfortunately.
Sandra, you have a question?
Given the situation with COVID and signing checks and things, I mean, is it time to look at doing internet banking for the parish council?
Yes, I've got another. That's another mandate for it. It's very. I don't know why it's so difficult with parish councils. They don't have a sort of on their website. You can't tailor it. It has to be done, you know, in visits by me to the bank. But yes, it can. I think it can be done. Well, I know it can be done because we do some already.
Yeah, because the HABTC have an internet bank now. They don't do checks; they just do it all on internet banking, and people, it's just sent through to people, and you kind of sign via the internet or email. I think it's internet actually. They send the form and sign. The signature is signed on that basis, and they don't use checks anymore.
Yeah, it would be good.
Okay, thank you. Authorise payments as itemised, to consider expenditure against budget report and sign off bank reconciliations month end, and you will take them to me or to Tim.
Yeah, I've got them ready for signing.
Okay, good. Okay, correspondence. Anything?
Yeah, 2 things. The email from Nikki Sanders about the youths up on the recreation ground by the dugouts and just leaving all their rubbish. I forwarded it to Stephen Meredith, and he wanted to know what time of day, because he's got, I think, in 1 or 2 other places there's lads that are out and about. But when Nikki, I asked her again what time, and she said she went up there. It was early evening, and the lads were sort of beginning to congregate on their bikes. I don't think she knew them. So I don't know if they're from Flumpsters. I don't know if it's worth putting it on Grapevine to remind parents to just check where their kids are, and if they go out with a bottle of fizzy pop, they bring it back empty.
Caroline, I'm fairly sure that I know who those lads are. I've seen them on a number of occasions. They are local, and yes, it might well be worth circulating something on Grapevine.
Are their parents likely to be on Grapevine?
Yes, the ones that I know certainly are.
Okay. Come on, name and shame. I like to play the name and shame.
I don't do that, I'm afraid.
Okay, I'm great. Thank you.
And
something else as well.
I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
I've got, hold on, there's one other letter.
Just 1 second.
Oh yeah, that was about calling in the applications. Yeah, okay, so we're doing that. Okay.
Oh, you do that. Sorry, yes, Samantha, yeah.
Caroline, we spoke before about the White Hill sign. Is there any update on that?
Oh no, Jane, do you know anything about that?
I wrote a piece about that in the magazine and everything. That I have made inquiries that the Dacorum Borough Council, unless you're in a conservation area, and that isn't, you can't have a black and white sign because they cost more. So in the other areas, they're green and white, and I have put in a request for a sign on White Hill, which would be green and white if and when it comes. But of course, with this, the Dacorum only orders them every 6 months or so when they have enough to order and in bulk, and then they'll come and put them up.
Do you know what happened? the sign that was there? Because my neighbour was offering to restore that.
Personally, I have no idea what happened to it. I didn't even know that.
It's gone missing.
Well, that's not the only one that's gone missing. I think there's another one went missing, Charlie Hill Road or something.
Maybe that could
by
go
the
on
pub.
Grapevine as well.
Sorry?
Maybe that could go on Grapevine as well to find the location of the missing signs.
Yeah.
That's the one on Charlie Hill went a year or so ago. But I think that what I'm saying is that Decorum will come and put some up, but there'll be green and white ones, plastic ones, which I've complained about. And I've sent in pictures of some of the ones we have, for instance, of the end of Friendless Lane and I can't remember the name of the road, but next to it. But anyway, those are such a bad state. They deteriorate much faster than the black and white ones do. So I've sent in these pictures to complain, saying that, you know, they need to start thinking, because it must cost more in the end if you're having to replace them more often. That they ought to look at what the alternatives are to something that's a bit better, longer lasting.
How much are they? Is there something we could do to fund it?
Personally, I have no idea what they cost. That's just something that the council do.
Yeah.
That's their responsibility. So what I can say is I have written in, I have ordered these signs, I've been talking to the department, I have made the point that I want to look at the alternatives, because we've got some signs around here that are in Flampstead that are in a really poor state. From the point of view of being stolen, I'm afraid I can't tell you why or who or anything else.
My neighbour mentioned it to me.
And that's not a responsibility, shall we say, of anybody except the person that's stolen them. It's something that they are getting replaced and they will be replaced, but I'm afraid it's not something that happens immediately. And of course, with the current lockdown, they're not doing all the things they normally do.
No.
Okay. Sorry, Caroline, I've just realised I had one other note here for the warden, which was weed killing. I don't know if they've been doing it already, the curbs and the gullies.
No, I don't think so.
It could be worth.
He's on holiday this week, so Mark's going to be doing it. Oh yes, I'm going back. So we didn't discuss the seeding. I think he's going to have to get a machine out to do that. Because it's there's patches all over. Little patches. You can't really do it on a sort of finger like sort of just walking about. You have to be on a machine. Really needs to be they sort of agitate the soil a bit to get some top. I said it needs some topsoil on it or something like that to enable the seed to grow. So it's going to be a bit of an expense, but I think we do need to make the opportunity while no one's using it.
Quick question on that, Caroline. Bear in mind the gas pipes have got to come out at some point in time. Is it worth seeding it before that's all dug up? It might be worthwhile waiting until after that's actually been done.
Interestingly enough, on that question, that's just reminded me, I had a long conversation with someone from Total Gas today, because they keep sending us bills for our gas, which I'm not going to pay if I can help it. They're standing charge, which I think is too high. And he just thought, now the meter's gone, we've just got a little pipe there. This lad I spoke to today seemed to think it was absolute madness that we're spending £2,500 when we could just have go back to that option of having a standing charge, which will take us about 17 years to pay the same amount as it's costing us to dig up the road. Because the man, when he came to take the meter away, it was about 15 seconds job. So the cost is all in the road digging up. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought we could make a nice little, put a plant pot over it or something, or a seat. So I didn't know if that was something we wanted to explore again and perhaps get our money back from gas people.
Yeah, I think you need to do something, because when I went up there today, the cover that was on it had been taken off, so the pipe's just sticking up. So you need to do something sooner rather than later. Then, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, now the meter's not on it, it makes it much easier if we did want to put a bench or something over the top with a bit of brickwork around it, doesn't it?
And anyway, he said, in the future, you just don't know. If you, for some reason, wanted to reinstate the gas, we wouldn't have to pay again. If it wasn't us, someone in time in the future for something else, the next building, it wouldn't, be on our account.
Do we know that we wouldn't be charged any more for the, what's already been done? I mean, is it definitely only going to be at a very small charge?
For what? Sorry.
So the removal of the meter that's already been done, do we know for sure?
It's paid it. It was £2,500.
No, so what you're saying is they haven't removed the pipe, and that's going to be the biggest cost. But do we know that for a fact?
The cost, yes, because when I looked online on HTC, it's about £1,800 to have a road dug up for pipe removal, and so because I was surprised, I thought £2,500 so much more, but it's all of it, practically all of that is.
We did discuss that before. I must admit, I'm happy either.
Hello?
Any idea what's happened?
Not sure what happened there.
Someone cut your wire. Now that the meter's gone, and it's
Vince brought the meeting to an end. That's what it was.
I mean, now the pipe. Now we see that it's just a small pipe. Could we explore that possibility and just save a bit of money?
Yeah, Sandra.
This isn't like, do we, the Pavilion Committee, want to discuss that and make a decision on it?
Sorry, Tony, do you want to mute yourself because there's a bit of background noise?
Yeah, actually, I also want to speak, so I apologise for the background. The clan behind me.
No sugar for me.
Just to say that actually, we had spoken about this previously. Obviously, the advice that we were given from an official capacity was to get the pipe removed. I think if that's the official advice that we were given, and that's the safest practice, as much as it sits against the public purse, so to speak, my personal preference would still be to do that. That's my 2 pence on that. I do have something separate to raise at the end, though, if I may.
It's interesting you should say that, because having spoke to so many different engineers who've turned up and, not for very long, have they? And the last one that came, I said to him, now, is it dangerous to have that pipe there? And he said, no, not at all. I said, so what happens if some gas comes out? And he said, well, it won't cause an explosion. It would just be because it's not under high pressure. And there would just be, those flames you get on oil rigs. There will just be a little flame high up in the sky eventually when there's enough oxygen to ignite it. So, but he said it wouldn't reach the building, and anyway, you can most likely smell gas and call in the gas board anyway.
So unfortunate for the person sat on the bench.
I'm sure the mums and toddlers at the playground would really appreciate that. Absolutely.
But that was what he said. And you smell the gas first anyway, so that's it.
Has the decision been made on that safety note?
I won't take it out.
Okay. Tony, you said you had something else.
Just previously there was some emails circulating in relation to the security deposits that were paid by the cricket club and the football club, £100 a piece, I think it was. I've spoken to the cricket club, and as a gesture of goodwill, they'll be more than happy for the parish council to keep that money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's very kind.
I also have something to say.
Yeah, sorry, I had 2 questions as well.
Okay, Nancy.
I spoke to Martin Sexton, who lives down Delmaren Lane this morning, or the other day, and he said he's been unable to access the minutes of the Parish Council magazine. He said he's emailed several times, but he's had no response. Not the Parish Council, the minutes to these meetings, and he's very concerned. So he wanted me to address it at a meeting tonight, and for Caroline to take some action.
Minutes.
Yes. He says he's on the grapevine.
I haven't heard from him. I haven't had any emails from him.
He said he sent several.
Not to me. Not to me. He hasn't.
I
You can get them on the website. If you tell him, you can get them on the website because they're up to date. Oh, hallelujah, praise the Lord.
He normally gets them through the grapevine.
Yeah.
He says he hasn't been able to get them through there recently.
Maybe he's unsubscribed himself by mistake.
Yeah, I've not got an email from him. We'll send him a link.
Yeah.
Yes.
Samantha,
Make him feel wanted, Caroline, please.
you had a question, Samantha?
Yeah, sorry, I've got the cat fight of Trowley Bottom happening at the moment in my garden. Sorry about that. Yes, you said about weeding. What happens to footpaths? So there's the footpath that's quite near the top of White Hill, and it's really overcrowded. You're struggling to get. So if you come to the top of White Hill, turn left. The footpath on the right, you could barely get down there now.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
The one at the back of Charlie Farm, Charlie Hill Farm.
No, top of White Hill, turn left towards your house from mine, Caroline.
Yeah.
And then the first footpath on the right.
Yeah, that belongs to Trowley Hill Road, Trowley Hill Farm. So they're obliged because they've got a field on the left of it, so that path runs through. So they're obliged to deal with it.
Right. Okay.
Do you have access? Do you speak to them?
Is that Jill?
No. It's Trowley Hill Road Farm. You know, people who are in the nursery.
Devotees.
No, I don't know them.
Nick Fox and Sam Devotee.
Yeah.
That's the one. They're clearing their land big time at the back of their property, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're doing? They're building a football pitch or going to build houses.
Probably houses. But are there any tree preservations on everything they've locked down?
I know. I've asked about, they put a planning enforcement note in about the gate that they've opened up, but that might not be illegal.
Sandra, you have something.
The trees they only have preservation orders if they're in a conservation area as a matter of course. So that's not a conservation area, so they wouldn't have a TPO unless there was a specific instance for it.
Okay.
Can I just come in? Can I just come in here? I think a TPO, I mean, we've been having a lot of problems around here with people taking trees down. And if they're on their land, they can do what they like, they can take a tree down. But anybody can go and ask the council for the tree department or whoever's responsible to go along, tree warden, perhaps that's what he's called, to go along, and if they feel that there's a tree worth preserving, they will put a TPO on it. It doesn't have to be on your land. So if you feel there are some ancient trees or trees that are worth preserving, and there's certainly a lot of people going around cutting down trees at the moment, even though with climate change. So I think that it's definitely worth, if we've got some really lovely trees around, big, old trees, that if you feel that they're important, asking Decorum to come and have a look and possibly put a TPO on it.
I think they've already gone.
The other thing I wanted to mention was, have anybody noticed an increase or not in fly tipping since the lockdown and since the fact they've had the refuse places closed? I think they've opened again now, but I just wondered whether there'd been an increase in fly tipping and whether any of the fly tipping notices have been put up at all.
I haven't noticed, but then I suppose they haven't been out very much. Really.
In some areas of the country, there have been huge increase.
There's a lot of the signs have gone up, particularly up Libby Bats Lane and Wood End Lane and all around there. There's quite a few of the signs saying with the cameras and don't fly tip. I have noticed a bit more fly tipping. I wouldn't say masses more than normal, but there is. The other day, like Green Lane and up and a bit from Gaddesden Road, that go past Green Lane. There's quite a lot of stuff there. Where was it the other day as well? Hawksmere End, I think there's quite a lot being dumped around there.
Okay. All right.
I haven't noticed anything.
So just the one thing remaining out of all that, I think, is this pathway. So it's definitely Trowley Hill Farm that's responsible for that footpath. Yeah. Is it? Should we write to them? Sorry, you're muted again, Caroline.
My friends used to live there, and they used to have to maintain it.
So should we write to them?
I can email them.
Or email them? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Good. In that case, well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. A pleasure of your company, and keep looking after yourselves. And hopefully see you in person soon.
Very nice to come, Vince. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yes.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
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 Ooh.